Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to the Alchemist and Oracle, a space where we engage in spiritualized conversations that deepen understanding, inspire transformation, and spark meaningful dialogue about life's most profound truths. I am Nicole Love, the Oracle, and as always, I'm joined by my amazing, wonderful co-host, Warriors, Artist Share RN, the Alchemist.
Yes.
So today we're having a conversation around Blackness, is how I would say it. So today she's going to be like directing and guiding the conversation. So it's over to you. How do they say that on the news? Over to you, Chuck.
Chuck.
I don't know.
Could have said Cynthia.
No.
One of our famous guys out here, Chuck, part of the Chuck and Houlihan.
Well, that's why I said Chuck. Okay.
Yeah, Mother, man. What you know about Chuck and Houlihan? If y'all want to Google it, just Google.
I don't know anything about that Chuck.
The Land, Ohio, about Chuck and Houlihan. Used to put on these scary movies that my mother and brother used to be into. I was like,
you're like, nope.
I like one of our famous one. But anyway, what's up, y'all?
Over to you, Warriors. My bad. Over to you, Warriors.
No, I'm good. It's cool.
She said you could.
I just messing with you. Yeah.
Just the first thing that came up.
Woo! How y'all doing? Much love, and peace. Yeah, like she said, we're gonna talk about Blackness a little bit. Black History Month. Why not? A whole thing that came
fair warning
to me for this discussion in Black History.
Black History is every month. I just want to say that because this is
it was every day. It's every day that I breathe.
Because it's not coming out during February.
Oh, okay.
That's all. That's why I say Black History
March. Oh, yeah. Well, that's true. Well, yeah.
Wait, but isn't March Women's History Month?
I don't know. Something coming up.
I think
for that
so.
One. Yeah.
And we're Black, so there we go. And we're women.
Yeah, Black women. Yeah, what's up? So, this whole thing was about how Black history connected spiritually. And a spiritual alchemist looking at things and all about transforming and looking at the world and where we come, how we come. And it was based upon the strength of all of our ancestors and the people that supported our ancestors back in the day. The closest thing we can, deal with was the fight for the right to just be, to exist. All the protests just to go in, to be served, to have the right to be in this world as a breathing, living human being and as a Black person in America. And it's hard to dismiss the history and also talk about the people that supported our people. And most people know the famous people, Jane Pittman, Martha, Malcolm, and there's some other people who have contributed to the history of America with the support of counterparts, the support of our Caucasian counterparts and more. And so that, is a part of it as well, understanding how we are one and coming forth and looking at that. So the spiritual aspect with Black history is the resilience and the strength and in the face of adversity. We looked at you can't shrug it because as we can see that it's still going on in our world, unfortunately. Just unfortunately. And we go back to even some of our family members. So it's just a it's so rounded and breadth of how we look and celebrate Black history and the building of this world through sweat, gut, and tears, with the very hands that our people utilize to build, this America that we're in and those that were before us. So, I'm going to mention Jane Pittman because she's come up in my spirit a lot. And then I will transition and get my counterpart to come in and look at the family and the current situations and how it is. And actually in 2019, I got to go to the Black History Museum and the levels are interesting. You have to start in the basement. For example, just to get off the cuff, I'm just allowing Spirit to guide me here. And then coming back home to our state and finding out how the Underground Railroad was tied and how the people came through here in different states and the homes and the people. I can't think of the title that they were given that supported and housed our people to freedom. And a lot of people ended up in Pennsylvania and here and through some of the houses and seeing that was pretty amazing. The depth of the first floor, and that was here in Ohio, but going back to the museum, the depth of the first floor was deep. The first day we go, I didn't even get out the first floor. It was so intense for everybody that was there. White, Black, Asian, whoever came, and people coming from all over the world to look into the history and the evolution of where we are today as a people. So there's a lot of sadness, there's a lot of joy in it as well. And having experienced that, to looking at the cultures and then acknowledging the people and the women and the men who supported this freedom and some of the protests, looking at Jane Pittman in the bus and the right to sit wherever we needed to sit so we can get from A to B, from A to B or C to D in our travels. And I know that I think driving is a huge freedom for me. So sitting on that bus, getting to where we needed to be so we could serve was real deep. So and just the depth of resilience, the depth of faith to keep moving, to keep going, even in the loss of the lives of the people, to stand in humanity, the Caucasian people that supported and understood the humanity and how we were connected. So, my darling Oracle, what is your take on how we look at the spirituality and the faith of our people as we share in this month of awareness and celebration and love?
I think so my mind is processing through what does it mean being what is the meaning of being Black from us spiritually? And so I think of putting it through the lens of the type of conversations that we have about the energy, the alchemy, and the transmutation that our ancestors are great teachers and guides as well in how to do that. It's turning that pain into power.
Yeah.
And
yes.
So when you think of the Black experience, it really is alchemy in action. It's it's been the teacher for so many Black people and also those who are around watching the alchemization as well. It's just watching how we turn pain into power, transforming our pain, the oppression, and like struggle, whether it's like I take it back to like art. You see how we use that to that transmutation, taking the energy and pouring that energy into art, music.
Just like what's behind me.
Yeah. So it's really like soul alchemy. It's that transmutation. It's transmuting like your wounds into wisdom. And I'm trying to think like wounds into wisdom, struggle into strength.
It's strength. Yep. Indeed.
So that's like the first thing that kind of comes up to me is what does it mean to be Black spiritually? Because I think there's a lot of negativity. There's a negative connotation around the word Black. And depending on what perspective you allow yourself to define what that is, like some people, like, I don't like to be called Black because there's a negative connotation. It's darkness, is the indication of darkness. But what I feel it's a recognition that, is I was having a conversation the other day and I had like a revelation about how we're human beings and the human experience is one of darkness, the shadowy parts. And being part is the light. So it's being here on earth is how can you be in the dark? It's like tapping in. So I see it as this recognition of the power that we innately have as Black people.
Well, that too. I mean, in the womb is dark. I mean,
the womb,
in the womb is dark, and
there's still life in the darkness. Though? How do we know that it's dark in there? My little my little rebellious self is like, how do we know that?
Of course you would. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of electricity in there, but it's definitely, yeah, well, just me looking.
But if we don't know, I know I'm not even gonna acknowledge that. But how do we know what we see in the womb? Maybe we have like this light that we emit inside the womb, and it's not dark in there. Because one thing I always remind people, I remind people of how it's like, oh, it's so dark I can't see. And it's like, if you pause and you allow your eyes to kind of adjust, you realize you're not in complete darkness. Can you see everything clearly, like maybe in the light of day? No. But even in the light of day, sometimes it's so bright you still can't see.
Well, I'm glad. That's why I like us and your perspective, because actually I drive. I like driving. I'm starting to drive in the day, but nighttime was my best place. And I remember taking my mother up to Mount Rushmore many moons ago, and going down 90 up in South Dakota was very, 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 very dark. And I mean, there's no light. So if there was the moon or anything, I capture that. I can see things in the dark that most people can't see, and I'll move in the dark. I very have little light at night, and I just know that's why everything has to be in its place.
That's not why. It's your Taurian nature.
So that's true, because there's light, there's electricity in our bodies, there's just this massiveness going on. But one of the, now that you mention it, I've come to find out in looking and researching and connecting with the alchemist, I am the spiritual man Black. And obviously people used to say this back to me, because I'm like, not everything you need to know about me till I decide to let you know has to do with mystery, has to do with elegance, wealth, and the sort of strength and power. That's the spiritual meaning of Black. People are afraid of that.
Like, wait, okay, so how do I say this without sounding completely psychotic? But
a bold, unique, mysterious, intriguing individual.
So
or
There's a
black.
reason why you have groups of people that, so I'm taking it to my esthetician, I'm putting my esthetician hat on, right? And how
Okay.
I understand like melanin, the pigmentation in the skin. Stay with me. I promise I'm going somewhere. I
Okay.
trust it will make sense. So when
I'm
you
with you.
think of like that blackness, right? It's innately sacred. So we have melanin in our skin. And so the melanin production, a lot of people don't realize this, is that what makes us different, like people with darker skin tone versus whiter skin tone, is they have the same melanocytes is what it's called, but their
Okay.
production is lower. Ours
Okay.
is activated within us, so we create this pigmentation. And so when you think of melanin is this pigmentation, and just connecting it to what we're talking about, our blackness is sacred and is rooted in the divine. And so this melanin is activated by the sun, right? So you have the power of the sun. And so the
Yes.
melanin, it absorbs and it harnesses light energy. And when you start to realize, that's why I always see people with like really dark skin, they're luminescent because their melanin production is so
You
beautifully
got a point.
present
Yes.
that their skin has absorbed the energy of the sun.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you have
Yeah.
people that are in their humanness that are disconnected from their beingness, and they see that in people of color, and they try to harness that. And they're aware of the power that we innately have, and they try to suppress that.
Yes.
It goes
Yes.
back to like the last episode, how I was talking about like everyone here is not connected to God. Some people have chosen to make that disconnection from their beingness, but they're aware of the light and the frequency that the melanin carries. So those of you that may be struggling with like embracing like your dark skin or just having like melanin rich skin, you are literally walking around as like, you're like blackness. You're this sacred blackness that you're walking around in. Like you are the sun, because you have the capacity to harness that light energy from the sun, because your melanin production is activated by the sun. And what does the sun, like when you think of sun spiritually, what, like, how do you see it in context to that from your understanding? I'm just curious.
Well, the body produces vitamin D in the sunlight as well. Also, the sun provides tanning for most people. You know, when you look at that, and how that happens to the skin. And then, like for me in the wintertime, it will lighten up depending on how you've protected it. If not, then you know there can be some damage. But like you said, it's an internal structure, and alchemy happens. The sun can actually tan and darken the skin, and then when you're away in wintertime, depending on where you're living, obviously, and for me, you lighten.
Yeah.
So the healing and the stuff goes on, and then to get lighter, still holding the darker part. When you look at um that part, and people say, I just love your complexion. I love your complexion. I'm like, thank you. I had nothing really to do with this, but thank you.
Well,
But you're right. When I look at some of the people who had came to the other state that I spent many, many, many years traveling back and forth from, oh God, I forgot what part of Africa I'm in. You're right. The shininess, the melaniness of the skin is just unique. And if you don't, there's some people, like you said, that don't appreciate it, and a lot of us didn't know how to appreciate it. Our
it's
own, our
because
own.
we were oppressed to not
Yes,
recognize our innate power. We have this
yes,
innate power within us. And I don't want to say we're more powerful. We're just powerful in that way.
yes, yes. Well, obviously, if people kind of do and look into research, you can see that that people have this fear or this afraidness or this whatever, not ever. But like I say, until you get to know somebody, until you get to know the or connect with another human being, you'll find out the alikeness that we have. Like you said, in another individual, we all have the same, but we don't have it in that same category. Like people going to a tanning bed. Yeah, I wouldn't do good with one of them. And looking at the beauty in that, but you have to look at the beauty in everything that you are and that we are all connected so much. When you look at the innateness of our people and that we all have that connection and power in that, but to just keep it real, most people don't handle the truth very well. And speaking of power in that, like you said, it's not being better than, it just is. It
Yeah.
just is.
Yeah. I think we all have been fucking duped. We all have been duped to think like, because I look at it and I'm just like, who is controlling the narrative from the standpoint of degrading or oppressing a group of people that have like more melanin rich skin? And then you push that initiative onto those that are on the less melanin production scale, right? So they're taking their own attention on connecting to their own innate power and taking on oppressing another group. So when you look at it, when you take a step back, it's like no one is connected to their own power because we're all like looking at like there's just like this battle. And so
yes,
it's like, where does the battle come from? Why is the battle even? What's the purpose? What's the point of it all? So I just kind of look at it from that standpoint. And I wrote something down when you were speaking, and what came up is that people are afraid of the very thing that they carry within themselves. They see this power, this luminous divine expression in people that have this melanin rich skin, and because of the agenda or whatever that's being pushed, it's hard not to see that. And I think you see things in other people and you have such a visceral response to it, or you're drawn to it because there's something within yourself that's saying, hey, look at that, because you have that within yourself and that's what you need to be connecting with. That's what you're craving. That's what you're craving. And I also want to say this. I remember Neil deGrasse Tyson, he said this and it just like blew my perspective. He says he reminded like the moon. He said when you see the moon that's illuminated, he said, where do you think the illumination comes from? He says it's a reflection of the sun. So this idea that we're in the dark at night, the sun is still there and the moon is also there during the day. It's just a matter of your perspective in being aware of seeing the truth of what's really going on and what we're really truly rooted in from a divine level in our Blackness, for sure.
Yes. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's just so deep. It's just like, wow. So it's really interesting. So I have conversations, and this came up yesterday, and I guess I'm to speak about it. I mean, there was a young woman who I met when I was trying to find this bed here, and you just don't know who you're connecting with, much younger. And we got into in-depth conversations about culture and color, I guess, for that matter. And she said something to me that's interesting. I said, I don't know that you can walk, because when you present and you are white, well, she understood this. So let me get into it. So we're talking, da 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 da. So she had mentioned just still on the outskirts of town. We still got people that I just don't get it. Well, no, I didn't. I told myself I did get it. I just don't want to understand it, even though I do. So we're talking, and she says something. She says that my family, Ivory Coast, has Black in her lineage, directly in her lineage. And that it was found out about the people where she lives here on the outskirts of town, which ain't too far from from where we are, who found out, and so they looked at her with their nose or however like we've been treated, and so she was saying that she kind of understands, and of course I told her, I said, but you still present white in the world. But them knowing that nobody would know it until somebody found out about it. And so she has gotten back, what we have gotten in our that. And so we just had this dynamic conversation about it, and her sharing. And, she couldn't fully understand the nature, but how she was treated because it was known that she had this in her lineage. And so, like I said, meeting people, you just don't know how connected we are. And here in America, there is nothing pure about anything. And the fact that
you can say that again 10 times.
Yeah, right. Oh Lord. So, it's all about keeping it real in the context of what it is. And even as a child, I still, like I said, I understand it, knew it then. I still to this day, it still, just gets to me on how and why we treat each other like we do, other than knowing the control factor of this, or why that has to be so in depth when we have such an abundance and enriched earth and preference that everything can go around and there's enough for everybody in that. And why, people choose to serve each other because they choose so, but why would you want to demand it? Because you don't want that for yourself. So what makes you think you have the right in the essence of suppressing anyone else? And there's other people that have been suppressed as well.
Why do you think? I guess I look at it from an energetic standpoint.
Of course.
I understand why. It's like they recognize.
So do I.
They're trying to harness the energy. Let's just call it what it is on that very simple level. They're trying to harness the energy. And a lot of people that can compartmentalize in that way, they're just on a different energetic level.
Yeah,
and I do also, I know some people are just not aware of how they're being manipulated. Their mind is being manipulated to look at things and to think that they're above someone else based on their skin color. And it's like,
yes,
it's the most ridiculous thing ever.
Yes.
In my understanding, because it frustrates me, because it's like, we're wasting so much time like hating each other, and then the other group trying to like prove that we're worthy of not being hated. And it's just so ridiculous.
It's exhausting.
Everyone, I really do feel like those that are human beings, we all want the same thing.
Yes.
All want the same thing.
Yes.
It may look a little different. The approach may be a little bit different.
Yes.
We want the same thing. And I think that is really peace of mind and having peace and connection within their family and their community. I really do think that's what it is.
Yeah. 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 I mean, this here to create the separation and not to see it for the sense of being controlled. Who wants that? Like you said, who truly wants that? And in the essence of that, when I was talking about being forgiven, I do believe that our ancestors were forgiving souls, more so than what we know. because of the things that we did, and we understood the children of another culture. Everything is taught. You don't come into this world, actually, you come as this beautiful beingness, this soul, and we learn certain things. Like I am truly, even at this stage of my life, still unlearning stuff that did not resonate with the essence of who I am, whose I am, and in the skin that I am. And when we talk about Black history and that division was even created within us. I don't know if I'll go that deep into that. Maybe. And I mean,
I don't think it's serving.
Huh?
I don't think it's serving to go there. I think people are
No.
very aware of
But when I look, people, I mean, you come into this world as you are, and people make you know. I don't know. As a child, you just come in, you are as you are, you're in the mirror, and you don't know anything different than what you see.
Yeah.
Based upon that, and people make it known to you, and then you get called certain names, and it's like, you know, and I just am who I am, who just came here from my mother's womb, however I was to be. So Black history in the spiritual aspect is the innate resilience that we're looking to transform and to have to reestablish our humanness in the world. Which is unfortunate, but it is what it is, and we all know that to be. And to come together as one division, we can see the chaos as it is. So I don't get into the news now, because there is a reason why everything is happening as it is. People are not seeing or connecting that there is a purpose that hopefully will bring us together more than separate us, even more than we are. If you can see beyond your eyeballs, which is that spiritual connection to the self, to the being in here, and looking at our people, our family, our, getting in from my grandmother, looking at the resilience to do some of the things she did in the world, not taking no for answers, what she has mentioned to me since she's crossed, and some other things. But we have to sit in, and we have to come out the fact that there's some things that are for us and some things that are not. It's unfortunate that the loss of lives through division or control happened. Yeah. But what came from the power and how we come together, how we came together, how we're still coming together to fight for that right, that we are all one in consciousness and in body. We talk about bleeding, the same people bleed up. Yeah. The pain, the hurt, how is it any different? How is it that you would want that not to be for you, but you think it's okay to do it to another, through another, that it's okay? It's how you use your power. Forget the evil. That's a choice. And that's a choice. So looking at the resilience, looking at the strength, looking at standing, and for people in activism, I mean, standing in the humanness that you are, in the power that no, I belong here just as you do. How I came here was the same as how you came here. Mm. And there's so much to go around that nobody needs to dominate any other human being on the planet. Yeah. And as we look through the history, we look at the support that we've got And when I meet other people, it's like, well, that's not me. I said, I get it. That's cool. But we cannot, the history is still happening. Until that has stopped happening, it's not anything that you can't say is not going on. We've seen it in the last 4 years or 5 almost now.
I feel like it's been my entire lifetime.
Yeah.
It's just
Well, the
more
depth of it,
different.
it has been seen. And people think that we're just talking out the side of our necks or, and that's not the case. But, I look at my family, I look at what the things I found out from my mother and what my grandmother did, my great grandmother, and how she worked hard enough to bring her mother out of a certain situation, and just the love she had, the people that she worked for, who she cared for and served, the Jews or anybody. If you're in a position like a nurse or something that she was, the private duty, the things that you do, and understand how certain cultures understand that we are uniquely and spiritually and divinely connected. Now, whoever you choose to call your higher power, the universe, it all comes from the same source. I understand how we have, and that's also a control factor, go there too. But when we look and go back to the in-depthness of the history and the, oh God, what's the word I want? And the journey and the tenacity to stand in power, and how other people, when they come to meet you and understand. And I mean, I'm around a lot of different people. And when you can see somebody that's not your kind, love you in any other kind of way, that's the spiritual connection. That's the life connection. That's the life connection. You have people on the outskirts, when they said, if you've never left wherever you grew up, then you're missing out on not knowing and just taking from what somebody tells you or something in the news when you haven't been anywhere. Who have you met on your journeys? Traveling is huge. It's a huge connection to humanity. Meeting others and understanding the dynamics, and like you'll find out that somebody's connected to somebody that's connected to somebody that's connected to somebody else. Just like the example I made of a young woman who I had a conversation with, and how our history of walking and standing in power to live and breathe in this here earth, on this here earth, in this world, much less this United States of America.
I think of the name of our country, it's such a contradiction.
Yeah, right?
It is, but it's also the reminder of our innateness, the essence of who we are as a people.
Yeah. A huge diversity, but also an inclusion.
Yeah. I was thinking about what you were saying about like traveling, the importance of traveling. And it's so interesting how there's a lot of people that are because I'm in the Atlanta area, that even in the Atlanta area, they haven't left their little part of what's in the list of the Atlanta area. And I'm just so, girl, it's the most interesting thing ever. I'm just like, so you don't go like they don't go outside the perimeter. Some people stay inside the perimeter. So the perimeter is like 285. We have 285. That's the bypass that goes around the city in a circle. Yeah. And so there's some people that don't go outside the perimeter. There's some people that don't go inside the perimeter. But then within the perimeter, you have north, south, east, and west. And then you have some people that only stay on the west side, the east side, the north side, and the south side. But I just find that so curious. So me being me, me being the rebellious little asshole that answers questions that irritate the shit out of people, I'm like,
Yes.
okay, I'm meeting you where you are. How much have you explored within your community? Do you know your neighbors across the street?
Right,
And the
right, right, right,
number
right,
of
right.
people that say they don't even know the name of their neighbors or like what they look like. I'm like, how do you not know what your neighbor looks like? Like, it's just
Well, I could
curious.
say something about that, but yeah.
So get curious, where you are. Like, you don't need to travel. And I know so many people that do travel. They leave, they're like traveled all over the world and they don't even know anything about where they live. I guess my point is, how can we make connections where we are? And I think a lot of times we don't even allow ourselves to explore the world around us because we're just so, there's just a lot. Like, there's just a lot
Well,
of
some people are
uncertainty.
scared. I get there, they're
Yeah.
scared to move around, and that is a fear that will keep you oh God, what's the word? Will keep you oh
Stuck.
yeah. Well, yeah, that's a good word. Stuck or in bondage, another word for in bondage. So it will keep you, it will
Shackled.
keep you bound. And it's like, why? Because even though, and I know back in the day, my father, once he was at the house when it was his boys, and because of what was going on with him, being alcoholic and things of that nature, loved him. He provided a house. It's just that he never got to know his daughter. As a Black woman that I was becoming or trying to honor, and having his support would have been great, but I don't think he didn't know what I understand. He didn't know what he didn't know at the time. And because of how men were not supposed to be involved, which was unfortunate. I'm glad I'm seeing more involved today. Would see the news and all this, and I was go out. I was kind of fearless in my own right in certain things, and definitely getting to drive. I love cars way before I could drive. And now I'm looking at them starting late in life, but now I know what I need to do to actually experience some of these cars that I really, really admire. And the creation of them was not to go. He's like, oh, just going outside. And I was like, well, I don't be over there. I don't be over there to try to move in my Blackness. So, and that I was not, and I had pretty much told him I wasn't going to allow anyone to keep me from going outside. And I really meant that. Now, the things I've experienced have nothing to do with my traveling, a lot to do with my career and what happened within it. And even before I left, I do with neighborhoodness. But the traveling I've been pretty cool with. And so there's in what I understand, in order to walk in a certain way, there's a certain fearlessness that you have to have. And so we needed to have it in all aspects of our life, is why I'm saying it now, because there were some things I was fearless in, other things I wasn't so much. And I don't know how that made any sense. But that's how it works. So going outside, or you're even talking about going into the suburban areas, because there's a mixed group. There's a huge, huge, huge mixed group throughout where you are, including where I am, just because I've been down there and I still haven't really got the essence of downtown Atlanta like I would like, but that ain't like it. All I got to do is get in the car. I'll be down there again in a minute. So
Girl, downtown's not that big.
I know,
Could take
but
you
the
there.
essence of the underground, all that stuff that I
Underground?
missed prior to
Oh,
2020.
underground Atlanta?
Yeah.
Hey, you haven't been to underground Atlanta?
Mm-mm, mm-mm, mm-mm. And I've been there for several events, but they were all, business and things of that nature. So, and there's a huge culture down there. And we look at, when you're talking about Black history, that's a huge one. The whole event that we have with the hair down there. I would love to go to that event. That's crazy.
The hair show, the bronze.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I found out through watching, the thing that Chris Rock hosted.
I here's also my frustration. is the gentrification, the washing away of culture.
Yes.
It's been heartbreaking to see the takeover in the city of Atlanta.
It's slowly happening here as well.
And
I think Nebraska as well.
I don't know. I don't know if I don't know. I'm conflicted. I also see that sometimes we have to let go of being so deeply rooted in the history that it becomes an unhealthy rooting.
Like not growing.
Yeah, I think sometimes we are rooted in something and there's just a lot of weeds around too. Like we're letting weeds into it. It's just, it goes back to like how we can lean into the disempowerment of our ancestors and their experience. And also what I feel is the gifting of the generations, is we're given more space to breathe more comfortably, is how I kind of remember a family member saying. And as an adult, I get what she's saying. Is like, it's kind of like, yeah, when you think of like enslaved people, they had to breathe a certain way. And then you think of, like the progression over the decades and such. It's this slow little moments of being able to catch our breath. And I feel like we are able to breathe a lot differently than back during that time frame. But also too, I think a lot of us have forgotten how the need, we don't understand the need or the importance of learning how to breathe. And retraining ourselves to breathe more effectively versus like, okay, I'm just trying to catch my breath. But how can you catch your breath and also realize that maybe we have more that we can take in and we can breathe in as well. So that's what I mean about sometimes we can get caught in like that loop of trauma, that generational trauma, and
yes. Holding on,
and working from that understanding of the gifting of what they've been through, and reframing it from a standpoint of how can I live a much more empowered life versus disempowering and leaning into like, oh, the struggles of my ancestors. It's like, yes, and like, how can you honor those struggles and those challenges? Because I always remember my great aunt saying, my grandmother's grandmother didn't sacrifice what she went through for me to like carry the tears of her sorrows, is what she used to say. And a lot of people, that feels uncomfortable for them. Like a lot of people, a lot of Black people feel like, how dare I have joy? No, they want you to have joy in spite of everything that's going on. Like, that's joy.
Yes.
Because when you look back at the things that they went through in that time, they still had the capacity to find joy. They were picking cotton, but they were singing while they were picking.
Yes. Well, something else lost my other thought, but obviously it wasn't to stay in what you were saying. But now that you come to that point, and I look at going up and to want to become an adult looked like it was going to be fun. Which people tell you about the others. So.
Yeah, adulting is not. Yeah, they tricked us.
Just somebody just put some up about I hate adulting or something. It was fun. I was like, yeah, but we got to find some joy in adulting. So, I still lost my grandmother to me just much too long. Rather too, but I think everything happens for some reason. And my mother, and being that conduit to alleviate, to have and continue to alleviate those patterns of worry and stress. But growing up, my grandmother, just knowing some of the stuff, still partied. I mean, she was hustling with my mama, and there was this story one day where she left my mama at the mall, but and she walked out without her. She forgot her. I was like, "Oh, it's okay," but it's okay
What?
because back in the day, people covered, and so she went back
That's
and
right.
got
That's
her.
right. Yeah, yeah. They knew who she was. Like, oh, that's
Yeah,
so and so's. Come here, baby. Sit down. Your
yeah.
mom will come back for you.
Yeah, I don't know how young my mother was, but I think she was a baby, but it
Oh,
was just it was just crazy and to see that story. But when I go back to growing up in one of the bars that was close where I learned how to shoot pool in our neighborhood, which is mixed when you look at the history of it and the dynamics of it and why it's so, that was this camaraderie. They knew I was Howard Beers' daughter, yada yada yada. He had a nickname. I'm gonna keep the nickname solid. Um, and in the shooting the pool and doing this kind of stuff and having that vibe of ginger ale potato chips. So they, there was
that
this
is so specific. Ginger ale and potato chips.
Cotton Club to be exact
Now I
up
want
here,
some
but they don't
potato
have it
chips.
no more. I know I'm out,
I
by the
want
way.
some salt and vinegar potato chips to be exact. But anyway, you were saying.
So when I look at that they had so much fun in the adversity and looking at businesses and doing this stuff. They just had a blast. Christmases were crazy cool. And my brother's joy, and then with her we'd be dancing, and I know she was a hard worker. My grandmother worked a lot of hours, and the times that I needed her, she was home, you know so that liveliness and because of my soul, I always wanted to be around them, and I still had the kid experience, but it was something about being around them that was something that I was able to connect to as a youngin. I mean, I'm talking about a youngin. Um, and I just thought it was so cool. And just the laughter, drinking, everything was just, had that time. And then, then they had to work and do that kind of stuff. But most of the time we had gathered people come from out of town. And it was just sad that as they continued to leave, that we just didn't do it. I couldn't get people to come together. So, but yeah, there was a mist of celebration in the even in the dynamic of hardship.
Yeah. It's like our souls knew what we needed to heal from what
It's
went
like
through.
those old spiritual songs that some of them I didn't hear growing up because of except for going with my goddaughter's mom to certain churches or whatever. That just uplift you. I think it's just the instrumentation, the music, things of that nature that uplift your spirit, even when you're going through it. And not only that, even when we were going through it, we had other cultures, including our Caucasian counterparts that, saw us and celebrated with us, those who understood our humanity. So
It's healing.
yeah, there's some joy in the transition, and then if we could come, I just look at a certain decade. You look at the history of the '70s and the whole movement in the '80s was cool. Things started to shift in the '90s, and now here we are. And I don't know why anybody would go back and say anything was better than what you can create it and make it now.
Oh, you
So we were
mean
talking about.
the red hat movement?
Yeah, when you were talking about gentrification, I know I was in Philly and was going around and finding out some things that were going on there. around the college. God, I can't think. Is it Temple? I think that's the famous college there. I think it's Temple University. I'm pretty sure it's Temple. I actually drove by it. I actually had one of our warrior peeps, my dude Love, God doggone, I can't remember his name, who took me around through there, and he's like, "Oh, the area." I said,
Hey,
"Baby,
is
I
his
don't
last name
care."
Love, or is it
Yeah,
give? Is it given by birth or by self?
no, it's given by self. Yeah,
Okay, we're
that it
probably
is.
yeah. Okay.
It's given by self. I found that out with him talking with him and taking to me a part of town. He's like, "Well, this part of town is this way." I said, "Baby, I don't care." The reason why I didn't care was because of spiritual connection with my creator and going through our area, and seeing the history of what went down in the places where the music was happening back in the day and our you know movement. Of becoming and fighting for all kind of rights that all human beings deserve to experience. But as a Black culture, we've had to fight for stuff that were innately ours to be in. And I travel all over. Some of the best people I have been, Caucasian in the midst of the movement and understanding. But to understand the culture, if you want to be in a you have to kind of do the research and kind of learn. It's not a whole bunch that can be said, but that's not written, especially in this dynamic in this age. But to go on all skirts of town, I think the only time where I really had noticed, because I let a lot of things fly over my head because I'm not trying to receive that energy, was a restaurant I was in. And whatchamacallit, the first time that I think I had a true experience with not being served at the restaurant. And I was in, other than that, my experience down there was great. I was in Missouri at, oh God, I can't even, it just slipped off my tongue. The very popular place. Oh Lord, I can't think of it. But anyway, I didn't get
You said a
served,
food
and
place?
I would, huh?
Sweet in St. Louis?
Not St. Louis. It's down south, a little bit south of that. The God doggone it, I was there in 015.
What state are we talking?
I'm pretty sure it was Missouri.
So it is Missouri. Hmm.
Yeah.
Can't help you there.
Where you have I went to a couple of shows where they do the old time music. I showed my mother a five and dime store there. I met a guy who actually knew our current coach of the Cavaliers before we won the championship in 016, because I met him in 015 and he saw my shirt everywhere. I have something that says it has some sports team from here on here. And he knew, I can't even think of the coach. The brother still my complexion back who got our trophy. I can't believe I can't think of his name now. Everything is kind of going away right now. But it's oh my God. Oh my, this bothers me when I can't think of
It's not meant for you to speak about it right now.
obviously I guess not.
Yeah,
So I'm gonna leave it
let it
alone.
go. Let it go.
I don't like not remember what I'm trying to say, but it doesn't matter. But I had a really good time. Took pictures with one of the groups down there, and then got this other place and was just treated like a queen after that particular other incident. So it was I just continue to move forward and continue to just travel. But there's so many places I haven't been. I haven't been to Alabama, Mississippi, and New Mexico, a couple other places, and up on
Wait,
the East Coast.
you have or you have not? You
I
haven't been
have not. I
you
have
haven't
not.
been to Alabama?
Oh, girl, no. And I should have went with, but my daddy was kind of funny. I should have went with my goddaughter's mother back in the day, and
Well, it's
cause
easy
I
for
used
me
to
to
go
say.
to their
Like,
reunions.
it's easy for me to say because it's like the state over. But my mom actually lived there for a time frame. She was stationed there briefly for work.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but there's a lot of culture that I have not seen. I mean, I got to get back to, when you talk about culture, Black history, is to get back down to Memphis this third time, and really get to where some events happen around Martha off of that, and to see these places where, you know, where these things actually happen before they are transformed. I mean, Mississippi, that's where my mom's mom was born, and I got to do something with my great grandmothers. Now it just makes me want to do that, because there's ancestry that I need to know, because I know I have a diverse bloodline. It is what it is, but to connect with that would be even more greater. So yeah, so I would want to meet somebody or have somebody that I know down there. Could I go on my own? I could. I just choosing not to right now, but I would like to go and be shown, for many different reasons, that well, a couple that can show me around Bama. And
Do
I
you
think my
know
neighbor still got some people there.
you can
Bama.
you can hire locals? I think it's through Airbnb. You can
Mm-hmm.
actually hire locals and they'll take you around to the different cities. I can't remember. It's some type of experience. I've done it here in Atlanta. It's really kind of cool to go on tours with people that are from that area, and they're able to like give you a level of insight. But that's a really, you should look into that. Seriously. Don't wait
Okay.
on other people to pop up. I've
Well, I
realized
agree.
that.
I've never
But it's
done
a
that.
really good resource that they have made available. And the people are super eager to do it. And some of them are free. Some of them, they do have like, you have to pay for their services.
Yeah, I will do that. Oklahoma somewhere I want to get. I haven't been to New Mexico, and then I need to go up to the East Coast and get to Connecticut, Maine, and all those, and connect with the cultures up there, and
Mm.
just finding out some things. I know with my play little sister, her Grandma Clark, and her mom mixed. She married. Obviously, she said that they had no issues in Pennsylvania back in the day, and her husband, uh, these found grandfather was black, and she was white, but of I forget her culture, and you just look, and it's just amazing to just meet and talk with people who
Mm.
are decades older than you. I mean, we learn from each other. I mean, with the things of this, I learned from my 10-year-old godson. You learn, and you just get
Mm.
into our history in Black. And then our whole thing was to have a better way of being. And hopefully we could do that as a culture together, regardless to your background, regardless to your complexion. And I think that was the whole movement around fighting, for the right to just be, to live, to be free, free to move, free to express, free to love, free to just, exist in a world that's so abundant. Um, and so many things. And love is our only solution. And we were to talk about, eventually will be, if we didn't, we talked about what that was, and it comes from this and not from the here. So, and being Black is love. Is I think have shown what the very essence of love is.
Hmm.
We've taken care of other cultures, we've raised other babies. I mean, you got it's in the movies. I mean, there's nothing that you cannot not say here that should be anything, or what I'm saying is not anything that's not known. It's just nobody's willing to speak the truth, the power of it. You know. Um,
People want to avoid the uncomfortable parts of history,
yeah,
and they don't realize that you got to sit in it so you can learn how to alchemize it. And I think we as Black
exactly.
people, I think we need to remember that we're because we're here, that signifies our capacity to do that because it's already been done for us on our behalf. We just need to tap back into our power to alchemize. And I look at our ancestors as these beautiful demonstrations of alchemists and oracles and healers and just deeply connected spiritually, and allowing that spiritual connection to lead them back to the awareness that they may be enslaved by man, but they're still free
in spirit
to connect with their soul and
the divine,
and the essence, whatever you want to put the name on it.
The divine creator, the divine creation.
Identification is.
Yeah.
Hate to do this to you, my dear, but see the time?
Yeah, we good.
You good?
I think this was an awesome set. Hopefully it will touch you. Hopefully it will awaken you, and just get out there and travel and meet people. Get to know who people are. Just get to know who people are. Get to love, and let's just love each other in joy, in spirit and mind and body. Get to know who your next door neighbor is. Get to know who's on the outskirts of the town. There's so many suburbs, so many people. Smile. Smile.
Yeah, that's a good one. I would leave it with this. Get to know yourself too in the process. Is your capacity to remember the innate power that you have, you'll be able to connect to your light and extend that to other people.
Yeah, regardless
maybe ignite that in other people when you're out in the community. That's what it's all about.
Yes, I agree. I agree so much.
Thanks for being in conversation with me today.
Thank you. Thank you for our followers. Thank you to anybody who, interject, come up here, comment, let us know what you're thinking and feeling.
Yeah.
We're all in this together regardless.
Yep. And there's nothing we can do about that.
That's true.
We'll fight it, but we can't do anything about it. So on that note, be sure to subscribe to the channel to receive notifications of future videos to help engage in spiritualized, empowering, reminding you that you are the alchemist and the oracle in every conversation that we have. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you in the next one. Bye.
Much love. Peace.